So after a shaky start with the Acolyte's 2-episode premiere last week, all I heard leading into this 3rd episode was that this would be the episode that kills Star Wars for all pre-Disney Star Wars era fans. Well, I hate to inform you all of this, but you cannot kill that which is already dead.
They're dead. Alright, can I go now?
The truth is that a vast majority of fans checked out a long time ago. And the only reasons that some people still continue to watch is that either their job is to review things, like myself, or their morbid curiosity gets the best of them. That being said, this episode should not surprise anyone who's been paying attention. It's pretty much par for the course when it comes to Disney Star Wars. And it's clear now more than ever that Lucasfilm's real intentions are to double down on all of the things that people typically accuse them of. All for the sake of getting people to talk good or bad about this franchise that once commanded audiences' attention without even trying. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Well, as usual, if I was going to sum the episode up in just one sentence, I would say that Disney Lucasfilm clearly still does not understand Star Wars. Which is almost a crazy statement to make when you consider that they've owned Star Wars since 2012. That's almost 12 years to the date for those who are counting. And yet still, in that 12 years, they have yet to produce one piece of content that is even remotely reminiscent to George Lucas's original vision.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
As I said last week, you could nitpick this show to death if you really wanted to. With many conversations last week ranging from fire in space to the lead actress's haircut. Things that I'm not necessarily overlooking, but I just think that there are bigger problems at play here. Although those nitpicks do speak to the general lack of attention to detail that Lucasfilm typically exhibits. I think the biggest problem with episode 3 of The Acolyte is that it very much feels like it's being made for an audience that simply does not exist. The whole episode focuses on the origins of how May and Osha got to where they are in present day. And when the episode begins, we find them with this covenant of female Force-using witches who are hiding from Jedi. And their mother just so happens to be the leader of this little civilization. And almost immediately, they start in with the overt and heavy-handed messaging. With lines like, "The galaxy is no place for women like us," and how they were once hunted, persecuted, and forced into exile simply because some perceived their power to be too dark and too unnatural.
Message!
Not only was this a poor exposition dump, but it was also a not-so-subtle reference to very obvious things. And they beat this home even further when they insinuate that the girl's parents are lesbians as well. If I'm being honest, I could honestly care less about these characters' sexuality. The problem for me is when the girl's mother insinuates that she manipulated the Force to create life. So basically she went all Darth Plagueis and created 2 girls for her partner to carry so they won't go extinct. I don't know about anyone else, but this very much felt like they were stepping on Darth Vader's toes just a little bit here. There was something special about Anakin being created by the Force, or being created by the Force through Palpatine, depending on who you talk to. So why does Disney Star Wars feel the need to take everything that is unique and special about pivotal characters in Star Wars history and just give their moments to someone else? It's very lazy creatively, in my opinion. It's taking something from the past, kind of reworking it, and then trying to pass it off as something original, which has pretty much been Disney Star Wars' MO up until this point. They themselves have become a cliche. As far as the twin girls themselves, this might be considered nitpicking, but would it have been that hard to find 2 actual twin girls to play these parts? I doubt you pick these 2 actresses based on their acting abilities, based on what I saw in this episode. So the fact that they don't really look alike is all the more puzzling to me.
What the hell am I looking at?
When does this happen in the movie?
This whole episode basically has to do with May wanting to stay at the Coven to be a witch, while Osha has desires for something a bit more. She wants to see what is outside those very high walls. So enter the Jedi, and this is another aspect of this episode that really didn't jive for me. I feel like this episode was trying very hard to make the Jedi look like oppressive assholes, and more manipulative and unethical than we are used to seeing them be. Now, I know they covered the whole Jedi are bad from a certain point of view thing in the prequels, but that was all a part of Palpatine's manipulation of Anakin. It seems like Disney Star Wars creatives took that concept and decided to run with it, and are trying to make that connection in a much more literal way. The Jedi are good guys to me, period. That's not to say that there can't be shades of gray with certain characters. But the way that they are portrayed in Disney Star Wars, and specifically the Acolyte now, feels very mean-spirited to me.
No, don't like that.
Like they are trying to deconstruct the Jedi in the worst way possible because they think they're not interesting enough to just be as they are. In this episode, the Jedi basically kind of just swoop in and demand that these two girls be tested in their abilities. And if they pass, the Jedi are basically going to take them away. It's a far cry from Qui-Gon Jinn's more wise and noble approach to when Anakin had desires to leave his planet in the way that Osha does. Again, it's all about presentation, and in this show, in my opinion, the Jedi are presented in an unflattering way. Plus, I don't know if I want to put this out there even further, because it might actually happen, but this episode concludes with May starting a fire basically because she's pissed off that Osha wants to leave.
But you one crazy ass bitch.
And the fire basically ends up destroying the whole complex and even killing their mother in the process. And I have a lot of questions about this. Were the female witches not powerful enough to escape this fire? Did they want to die because Osha was leaving and it paints a very bleak future for them? Or, and again, this is just speculation, did the Jedi somehow manipulate this fire to get their desired outcome? I don't want to believe it, but would you put it past Lucasfilm to do just that? That would be a reason for someone to want revenge on them in Lucasfilm's twisted and f***ed up creative. All I'm saying is that this fire spread very quickly, and that's either a continuity error or Lucasfilm was about to pull off some bullshit. And honestly, knowing them, it could go either way. Bottom line, did Episode 3 break Star Wars beyond repair? No, because it was already broken. There are still many things about this show that are glaring logic gaps and lore breakers. And I do think that that is this series and Disney Star Wars in general's biggest problem. When I said that only knowing the basics of this universe is not enough to write an effective story, I meant it. A gross misuse of the whole concept of the Jedi and the Force itself, two very important things in Star Wars lore, is not going to inspire confidence in people who have none left. I get it, you wanted to try something new, and I guess on a bare bones level, you kind of did that. But you still have to create within the framework of what's already been established. You can't just pick up and do whatever you want in a universe like this. You're going to rub some people the wrong way, and that's exactly why the polarizing reactions to the Acolyte are not surprising. Couple that with a general lack of detail and visual quality, and that's pretty much a recipe for disaster. Wait, I thought this was going to be the episode that finally broke Star Wars for good. What I saw was a unique and powerful story that left me riveted to the final credits. I don't know who needs to hear this, but Star Wars is for everyone. Except, of course, for the man-babies who want to complain about everything. Leslie Headland deserves a ton of credit for creating a space where everyone can feel accepted in this universe. Jesus H. Christ, what a show that was. I felt like I grew a vagina watching this episode tonight. I thought I was watching a Star Wars story, not the tale of lesbian Jesus. What's next? Are we going to get a commentary on menstrual cycles from Jedi Master Aunt Flo? What this show needs is some more testosterone and a little less estrogen.
Y'all be cool. Right on.